let's say that I want to attract a brand new car.
Okay.
How do I go about that? What are the steps for that?
Well, the step, actually, which is the best to take, is to go as far forward as you possibly can, but to the extent that it is believable. So the brain is going to always fight your manifestations, especially if it's used to being realistic, you know. Which most of us as adults, we've got very realistic minds. The mind goes, wait, I know how much a car costs, I know how much you make,
exactly.
It's not going to happen. So basically, by virtue of the brain doing that, the mind doing that, it's limiting itself. So what we want to do is we want to go to the end state. So what's the end state for me in this car? Maybe it's I totally own it outright, I'm driving up a canyon, and I can feel it gripping the road. You want to basically put yourself in a state that is totally believable, where you already have what it is that you've been wanting. So give me, if you were to just pick a car, just pick one.
I'm going to pick the car that I actually manifested, which was a 2013 Camaro SS.
Okay, so what color?
It's black.
So what I would do if I were you, instead of you could see how one of the steps would be going and going to the dealer and buying it from the dealer. That's what we would call a preliminary step. You don't even want to go there. You want to go past that. This car has already got to be yours. You already have to have a sense of total ownership. You got to basically feel the way the leather feels on your legs. I mean, make it as plausible as possible.
Right.
As if you're in that car. And you want to do that. I like people to do it only for 5 minutes, but every single day. And then to drop it. So you're not even thinking about it, you just drop it. But one of the best things you can do for these types of visualizations to get yourself in that space where you're vibrationally a match to that being reflected to you is to add insignificant details to your vision. So for example, let's say that I'm in the car of my dreams, but I'm driving down a street where there's let's say, what's an insignificant detail? There's a taco stand. I get stopped at the light and there's a believable taco stand, right? And so it's why would I add that? The only reason you add that is so the brain goes, oh, that's believable. That feels more like real life.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing you want to add to your visualizations. Yeah, that would be the best way to do it. So if you get into the vibration of what it feels like to already have that car, you must be a match to it showing up in your reality. There's no exceptions to the rule. And so it's our mental math about how we're going to get that car that gets us in major trouble. The how was never our job. We got to remember that.
Right.
The what is our job, the focus is our job, the rest of it gets filled in by the universe that has absolutely no issue lining up your opportunities for you. No issue whatsoever. So if you're let's say that you're dreaming of the perfect woman, but let's say the perfect woman is over in Japan right now. No problem for the universe to do that. And the best way to imagine it is like this. Let's say that you have an ant, and the ant is crawling around in your bedroom floor. And you know that the ant should probably be outside. But the ant has no way of conceptualizing of outside. We do because our perspective is different.
Right.
So we got to think about source, or the universal energy, the collective consciousness, as being like that. It is no more difficult for the universe to line us up with our soulmate, regardless of where that soulmate might be right now, than it is for us to be like, oh, the ant needs to go outside, so I'm taking it outside.
Right.
So when it comes to manifesting a car, something like that, it may be difficult for you to see all the circumstances which could enable that car to end up in your possession. Not difficult for the universe to see from that perspective. And the thing is the farther we go with this, so what I mean is instead of the visualization being about you purchasing the car from the dealer, if you go to the farthest extreme, which is you actually owning it, all of those opportunities fill in differently. Because the universe is always going to streamline things. Meaning that from where I am to where I'm telling you, universe, that I want to be, the universe is going to take the shortcut, 100%. But if I tell you that what I want is in a different place on the line, then the steps are going to look different. The shortcut's going to be different to get me from here to there. So the best thing to do, hands down, is always to go to the farthest most scenario that you want to see for yourself, and let the universe do whatever it takes to fill in the opportunities to get you there the fastest.
Awesome, Tim. Awesome. So can we make certain things manifest faster, or do we have to wait on the timing of the universe?
Well, there is technically no such thing as universal timing. What there is a slight buffer, which is something which we designed, by the way, for this time-space reality in the physical dimension. We designed that because in the beginning it didn't work that way. In the beginning we designed the physical reality to respond to thought with exactly the same responsivity as it does in the fourth, fifth dimension. And just to be honest, we weren't actually able to survive long enough to create anything much out of this time-space reality. Because all it took was one negative thought, usually, a thought that vibrated around the vicinity of powerlessness, for us to basically die.
Really?
Yeah, so what we started to do, this is part of the reason for even the creation of the emotional system. We started to play around with the idea of the emotions being an indication of pre-manifestation, so that there was actually a choice to focus differently than how you are focusing, so you didn't line up with your own imminent death as a result of focusing negatively. So that buffer time has been put there specifically because of the fact that we needed to not manifest exactly what we were thinking the second we were thinking of it. I mean, I want you to think about that. Let's pretend you have a kid, right? And how many moms here, me, okay? How many moms have thought about their kid falling down the stairs? Okay, now what if that happened the second you thought of it? That's why there needs to be a buffer time. There has to be a buffer time, basically. So that we can say, oh, that doesn't feel good, I'm going to amend my desire. I'm going to focus deliberately on something that feels better. And it takes about, let's just be honest. For a thought to attract another thought, that's something that's interesting that you should probably know. Thoughts attract thoughts, not just things.
Right.
That's why you start going in a downward spiral or an upward spiral.
Exactly.
So for a thought to attract another thought, it takes about between 16 and 18 seconds for that to happen. For a thought to attract some physical circumstance in the time-space reality, it takes just over a minute. So basically, that's the buffer time we're working with before we see a manifestation that's a match to whatever we are focused on.
This is good stuff.